Hi, welcome to everybody to our League of Women Voters, Morris area, the debate for the Board of Education for Parsippany-Troy Hills. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, as I said, the Daily Record, which is part of the USA Today New Jersey Network, and the Women's Club of Parsippany-Troy Hills, I'm pleased to welcome you to this Board of Education forum. My name is Barbara Coopersmith. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of the Morris area. I'm the president, and I'm one of the co-presidents, and I'm also the voter services chair. So it keeps me very busy. So the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. Therefore, we never support or oppose political parties or candidates. Elections and voting are our core concerns, and empowering voters, defending democracy is our mission. We are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. Membership in the League is open to all ages and gender identities. We welcome volunteers, whether or not you are a member. With over 100 years of experience, the League is one of America's oldest and most trusted civic nonprofit organizations. I'd like to welcome our co-sponsors for this debate. Bill Westhoven, would you please say a few words?
Okay. Welcome to everyone tonight. For those who do not know, the Daily Record has been covering Morris County and Parsippany since the year 1900, so that's 124 years. I've only been here for 31 years, but I'm very pleased to be partnering again with the League of Women Voters and my friends in this case at the Women's Club of Parsippany. I'm very excited that all 5 candidates are participating tonight. So congratulations to all that. Just so you know, the Daily Record will be covering the campaign and election. We will not be making endorsements. And from there, I'll just wish you all good luck tonight.
Okay, and Kathy Haney, would you like to say something? You are on mute, probably.
I know it took a moment to unmute me. There are those who would not mind if I were muted. Okay, so I represent the Women's Club of Parsippany-Troy Hills. We are a non-political, non-sectarian organization. We are obviously a local organization, but we are part of the New Jersey State Federation of Women's Clubs and the General Federation, which includes countries all around the world. Our mission is to bring together members of the community for fellowship and mostly for service, and to work on projects for the educational and civic betterment of the community. That is our mission statement. So obviously, supporting this endeavor, it fits in with our projects and goals. So I wish luck to all of the board members, both incumbent and prospective, and I hope we have a very serious discussion tonight.
Thank you. So we encourage everyone to go to vote411.org. This is our one-stop site for information on all aspects of voting in New Jersey, including statements on the issues from your candidates. All these candidates and other local candidates have been invited, and when they respond, it goes straight to the website. So, and also you can visit our website at lwvmorrisarea.org to learn more about our league. And remember to make your vote count and vote. You can vote in one of 3 ways. You can vote by mail ballot. You can do early in person using a voting machine from October 26th to November 3rd, or you can vote in person on Tuesday, November 5th. And remember, every election is very important, especially next year where our governor will be elected and all the legislative districts will be up for the state. So this forum is being live streamed on the Morris Area LWV YouTube channel and will be available afterward for viewing. Other language options will be available tomorrow on the stream. We encourage sharing the League's recording of this event in its entirety, but do not allow editing or making public any excerpts from the recording. The league name, logo, event recording, or any materials from the event cannot be used in a way that could lead a viewer or reader to infer league support of or opposition to a candidacy. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, Nancy Hedinger. Nancy is a league-trained moderator who is not from the voting district of Parsippany-Troy Hills. She will introduce the candidates and outline the format for the evening. Enjoy the debate.
Thank you, Barbara, and welcome to the Parsippany-Troy Hills Board of Education Candidates Forum, which is being live streamed on the League of Women Voters Morris Area YouTube channel. So if you're not, people who are not here this evening to see the debate will have an opportunity to see it on YouTube. So welcome, whether you're here tonight or whether you're here at a later time. I'm pleased to be with you tonight as your League of Women Voters moderator. And I'd like to start by thanking your candidates, Sheethal Abraham, Matthew DeVito, Susie Golderer, Judy Mayer, and Victoria Stockdale for making the time to participate in this evening's virtual forum. As you know, these 5 candidates are vying for 3 open seats on the Board of Education. The format for this evening's debate will be as follows. This forum will be divided into 3 parts. First, each candidate will deliver a 1.5-minute opening statement. They have drawn numbers to determine the order that opening and closing statements will be given. Following opening statements, I will ask each of the candidates a question from the list of questions developed by the sponsors of this evening's forum. Questions have not been shared with the candidates in advance. The candidates will then have 1 minute to answer each question. Opening statements, answers to questions, and closing statements will be timed by our timekeeper, Diane Holland. She will hold up a card which gives a 30-second warning, followed by an alert when the time is up. At that point, candidates will be allowed to finish their sentence and we will move on. Time limits are strictly enforced. We only have an hour and we want to be fair to it. We want to get through as many questions as possible and we want to be as fair as possible to everyone. Following the Q&A session, each candidate will deliver a 1.5-minute closing statement. So now, why don't we begin with the opening statements? And we will start with Mrs. Abraham, who drew the first spot.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event and to my fellow candidates for participating tonight. Good evening. My name is Sheethal Abraham. I am a wife, a parent, a fellow taxpayer, a proud board member for the last 3 years, hoping to be able to continue serving this district alongside my fellow board members. My husband and I chose to raise our children in Parsippany primarily due to his reputation as a top-notch school district. Over the years, I have been able to chair the communications, teaching and learning, transportation committees, and have been involved in buildings and grounds, sports, finance, and critical issues. I have represented the board as a liaison for CPAC and the Parsippany Education Foundation, participated in negotiations, furthered my education as much as possible over the last 3 years with the NJ School Board Association, and achieved the new board member boardsmanship certification last year. I have 2 children in the district. My son Liam is in 6th grade and my son Luke is now a kindergartner. I'm also running jointly with Matt and Susie. My priorities are safe and secure schools, smart policies that are effective and beneficial for our district, both staff and students alike, being mindful of the concerns of our stakeholders, especially in regards to developments in our town, and reviewing and approving responsible and balanced budgets so that we can reduce costs without compromising on student achievement and programs. I'm proud to be part of a board that's been able to pass our budget every year after diligent review and keep the tax increase to our taxpayers at 2% or less and hope to continue the trend. I am committed to providing the safest and most robust educational environment for all the students in our district with adequate resources for educators, technology, and opportunities for all students to reach their goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeVito.
Good evening. My name is Matthew DeVito, and I was honored by the voters of Parsippany to have served 6 years on the Board of Education from 2018 through 2023. I believe that good quality schools will continue to make Parsippany a desirable township. I think we need to be concerned and aware of all the redevelopment in town that is happening and what is coming in the future that will bring additional students. I have served on most of our board committees and attended many district and community events. I have received extensive training over the years from the New Jersey School Boards Association, and I have now achieved their Master Board Member certification. I've been a resident of Parsippany since 2014. We moved to Parsippany because we knew about the great quality of the schools. My wife, Christine, and I have two children, ages 13, attending the schools currently, and our older daughter just graduated from Parsippany Hills in June of this year. I've been active in intramural sports in town over the years, coaching with both the Parsippany Soccer Club and Parsippany-Troy West Little League Baseball. I more recently became a member of the Sons of Italy of Morris County. My wife is a public school teacher in another district. I've been a network engineer for 25 years in a financial services company, and I believe our children need a good grasp of modern technology to succeed. I feel it is necessary for a board member to be fiscally responsible and to look to further the educational needs of our children in our community.
Thank you. Mrs. Golderer. You're on mute.
Good evening. My name is Susie Golderer. Thank you to the sponsors for tonight's event. I am running for the Board of Education because I believe sincerely that every child has the potential to become the best person they can be, and that education helps achieve dreams. All children have dreams, and if we let them die, our future dies with them. This is where the seed is planted, and this is where we can inspire and deepen their trust by preparing them for a life of possibilities through education. I have been a resident of Parsippany for over 29 years. I am married to Jeff Golderer and have 4 children who have gone through our school district and 8 beautiful grandchildren. I have a BA in psychology with a specialization in industrial organizational psychology from FDU. I have over 35 years of business experience in customer service and human resources. I have been on the board for 13 years and also served my community as a District 21 representative. I am a member of the Northvale Central Middle School and Parsippany High School PTAs. I am proud to have been the first board member in Parsippany to become a certified board member in 2014 and a certified board leader in 2019. I also serve as VP of the NJSBA Morris County Board of Directors. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayer.
Thank you. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and sponsors for sponsoring this event. My name is Judy Mayer. I have lived in Parsippany for 46 years. My 3 children went through the entire Parsippany school system. I was an educator in the Parsippany elementary schools for 20 plus years, and I have served on the Board of Education for 10 years. My whole adult life has been dedicated to education. When I retired, it was clear to me that an excellent way to use my experience and serve the community was to seek a seat on the Board of Ed. It made a perfect sense to have an educator on the board. While serving on the board, I have earned the designation of Certified Board Leader, which is the highest level of certification a member can have. This was obtained over several years by attending workshops and seminars designed to make me a more effective board member. I also serve on the executive committee for the Morris County School Boards Association. Locally, I have served as vice president of the Parsippany Board of Education and have served on various committees: critical issues, teaching and learning, personnel, sports, buildings and grounds. In addition to committee responsibilities, each year I carefully review a proposed budget, going line by line, comparing to the previous year. I serve as liaison to the PTA, as well as welcoming new teachers to the district at the new teacher orientation in late August. It was an honor when my fellow board members nominated me for the Irene LaFay Board Member of the Year award.
Thank you. Thank you. And finally, Ms. Stockdale. I think
myself. Hi, my name is Victoria Stockdale. Thank you very much to the women of the League of Voters, Women Voters, for inviting me. It is my privilege to kind of introduce myself as a woman, a single parent of a child with autism. I am originally from Oneonta, Alabama. I'm the daughter of a civil rights advocate. My dad was a very active member and participant in the civil rights movement. My background and my education, I think, has prepared me to be an active board member. I am from a family of educators. I have started my own business. I haven't really got it off the ground, but I have started my business, Improving Disparities Among Women, which is sort of like an advocacy group or for educating women on maternal mortality. I've been encouraged by family members and others to be an active board member to speak for all children with my background.
Thank you. That brings us to the question and answers portion of today's program or forum. And the first question will go to Mrs. Abraham first. And the question is, if elected or re-elected to the Parsippany Board of Education, what would be your top priorities as a board member? And that was for Ms. Abraham.
Thank you very much. If given the opportunity to be reelected to the Parsippany School Board, my top 3 priorities would definitely be student achievement, having very good policies and or if we have to update any policies that are current, and also just to be as fiscally prudent as we can be with the monies that we have afforded to us. I think that when we are elected into this position, it's a really difficult job because we have to balance a lot of things. And one of the things that we have to do is make sure that the money that we're spending on our programs, our facilities, and everything is extremely prudently utilized. And I think those are the 3 top priorities for me. So student achievement, policies, and fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeVito, same question.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe it is very important for first and foremost for student achievement for our students. And to attain that, we need that schools need to be well funded. So therefore, obviously we need to make sure that all the funding that the district is entitled to get to, it gets it and such. Additionally, maintaining all of this, the buildings that we have with all the development that's coming, that we all know about, where we need to make sure we have the space for our students and making sure we, plan ahead forward for what we know is coming down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Golder.
Yes, as Mr. DeVito said, we definitely, my top priority would be the issue with the pilots that we have in town and the overdevelopment without the mayor taking any responsibility for making sure that we have enough funding so that we can educate the children that are coming from those developments, and making sure that our school is secure and all the children are that we have security and the SRO officers in the schools. It's very important. And of course, the quality of education. It's we are very fortunate to have a school district that has an incredible staff of educators, and they care so much about the students. And it's important for staff retention, making sure that we are able to create an environment or have an environment for the staff to want to stay, and for the and for the children to learn.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Mayer.
Thank you. If reelected, I have 2 priorities. One is to the students. I want to make sure that Parsippany maintains the quality education that we are known for. My 3 children went through the district and received an incredible education where they have all become productive members of society. I also want to make sure that students feel safe and secure in the buildings, making sure that we provide for them the best conditions where they don't have to have any fear of any problems. My other priority is to the taxpayers of Parsippany. I want to make sure they understand that we will do our best to provide what we can and stay under the 2% cap. An example would be that we were able to build an addition to Littleton School, which was a big project, and we were able to do it without going out for a referendum. So we are very responsible with our cash. We are responsible when we make budgets, and that is my promise to continue that.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Stockdale, same question.
Well, I think board members are privy to a lot of information that a lot of people, such as the public, are not given the advantage of knowing. And with that responsibility, must be responsible enough to make the right decision, which is going to be best overall for all students. Being the parent of a special needs child with mental health problems, I like to promote and offer my experience in mental health and how we can improve the education while maintaining mental health.
Thank you. The second question is, we're going to start that one with Ms. Stockdale, and it deals with something that a couple of you have already brought up, which is that board members and members of the public have expressed concerns about payments in lieu of taxes or pilot programs in Parsippany, causing extensive impacts to the district student population, and as a result, the board budget. What is your understanding of the pilot programs and how they might affect the school district?
My understanding, I've participated in many of the meetings. I've gone to city town council meetings and various meetings that they have had here in Parsippany. And my understanding is that the development of the apartment buildings or projects here in town will not provide the tax money needed to improve the buildings of the school. It's going to expand the population of the school district without promoting the money to fund the buildings and the surrounding environment that is needed for a quality education.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayer, you were second.
Thank you. There's no doubt that eventually these pilots will have an effect on our student enrollment. As of yet, we have not had that happen because there have been no real pilots that have been taken effect yet. My concern is that we will not have the funding to make sure that we can provide for these students. And so I know that the board has to work cooperatively with the mayor and the town council to try to get some kind of a number of what they will contribute to help us provide for these students. We don't want to increase the number of students in classrooms, but that might have to happen if we don't have enough room for these kids and we don't have enough staff for these children. The budget is very tight. We need the help of the town to keep these kids, to take care of future children that might come to our district.
Thank you. Mrs. Golderer, same question.
Okay. Well, with respect to the pilots, it is a very serious situation. As Mrs. Mayer said, none of the developments are ready to. They're not sending any children in, but within 3 to 5 years, they will be completed and they will be sending children in. And being that we would get $0 from those developments, unless the mayor changes his mind and actually agrees to a percentage for the Board of Education, anything short of, even 42 or 50%, okay, would put a tremendous strain on our school district and the community's taxes.
Thank you. Mr. DeVito, same question.
Thank you. So what I think needs to happen, and the beginning of this is started up again, is communication. I think when the board has open communication with the township, and we can work through a solution that other townships in Morris County have done with these pilots, we can come to a solution. Yes, these pilots right now, the residential pilots have not sent any children into the district, but it's coming. But we've already had non-pilot residential developments that have completed that are sending children to the district now, and that's already putting a burden on the district. Again, it's not a pilot, but still. So as we go forward, we should be mindful of communication with the township and the town council to try and come to these solutions.
Thank you. Mrs. Abraham?
Thank you. And as Mr. DeVito said, communication is the key here. And as of the last couple of meetings or so, we have had some ongoing communication with the town council and mayor. And so we are very hopeful that we can come to an agreement on maybe shared services or percentages like Ms. Golder had mentioned. I know that the board is very careful to plan ahead, and they were able to fund this Littleton project, like Ms. Mayor mentioned, without having to go back to the taxpayers. And that's a really big, important thing to mention over and over, only because we are managing our budget very, very carefully. And I think that it is important to note that the BOE is not going to leave any stone unturned in looking for a solution for the expected increase in students, and that we will do our very best to not only take care of the students that are coming in and educate them to the best of our ability, but also be very mindful of our taxpayers so that we don't have to go to referendum or anything like that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was the second question. The third question is also related to that one. And we will start that one with Mr. DeVito. The question is, there's an ongoing public feud between the mayor and Board of Education members on the pilot matter, which calls into question the New Jersey Code of Ethics for school board members. Where do you draw the line between doing the board's business and getting directly involved in local partisan politics? And Mr. DeVito, you're first on that one.
Thank you. So when there's a civil communication with people, you get things done. And there are even certain members of the town council and the mayor himself at times have been, kind of combative. But I think we've come to a point now where I think everyone's had enough of that. And let's just kind of come to solutions about that. Yeah, school board members are held to a higher ethics. This is true. I mean, you have to bid it basically as when you're sitting school board member, you need to make sure that you are speaking as yourself when you're speaking in public, when you're not at a board meeting. The only time a board member has authority is at the board table during a board meeting. So outside that, when the gavel ends, there's no more authority for the board member. So it's a question of wanting to be aware of what's going on in the township, that these board members are attending other meetings.
Thank you. Mrs. Golder.
As Mr. DeVito has mentioned, the Board of Education or board members are held to a very high standard with respect to, respect to being state officials, and we are ruled by a lot of guidelines and a lot of ethics issues, which any municipal government is not. And we have to walk a very fine line with respect to what we say, but that is the reason why we always have to give the disclaimer that, because even though we are board members, we still are taxpayers in the town, and it affects us directly. And though the mayor is not responsible for the school district, he is responsible to the community, and in which includes the students. They're part of the community. And when negotiations are done, it's important.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, unfortunately, there has been an ongoing feud between the Board of Ed and the mayor and the town council. And it's unfortunate that it got to that degree. There should be conversations that are civil, that are cordial, that are productive. Calling names and losing patience and losing tempers is not the way to solve problems. And it is a fine line when you are a board member. You have to make sure that you don't speak for the board. However, even though you say, I'm speaking as whoever you are still a board member. And so, people know you're a board member, and in the back of their minds, they may think, okay, this person is speaking for themselves, but they're on the Board of Education, and how you conduct yourself and how you speak and how you present information is very important. And I think with respect to the position and to the people.
Thank you. Ms. Stockdale, same question.
Well, I have presented, I have spoken to the mayor on various subjects and topics, and I have presented my opinion, but I also have uh, the evidence to back it up. Anytime, it's just like working in a hospital. If you're going to go to the Board of Ed, or excuse me, to the members of the board, have your evidence backed up by research, by articles. Back yourself up to show and prove what you're saying is correct. I'm not here to start arguments. I'm not here to make any personal statements to get ahead. I just want to represent my community and the students in the community.
Thank you. And then Mrs. Abraham.
Can you just repeat the question for me once? Thank you.
Sure. There's an ongoing public feud between the mayor and Board of Ed members on the pilot matter, which calls into question the New Jersey Code of Ethics for school board members. Where do you draw the line between doing the board's business and getting directly involved in local politics?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to note that the board is nonpartisan, and one of the things that we as citizens have the authority to do and the right to do is speak our mind openly. One of the things that we have to keep in mind, though, is that we are an elected official. We are bound by the standards that are set by the New Jersey School Board Association, and we have very high ethics standards. So when we communicate in the public, I think we have to be mindful of being as thorough and just try to be as, I guess, respectful as we can be, because we are setting a tone. And I think the ongoing feuds that we've had earlier this year, it did sow a lot of division, and it, could have potentially ruined relationships between our town and our town council and our district. But we don't have any individual authority when we go before the public like this. We can only make decisions as a group and vote as a group. But I would like to point out that I'm hopeful that we can get to a better place in the future. And as far as communication, I think that is the only way that we can get to a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the next question. And Mrs. Mayor, you will start off with this one. This is also something that's been discussed. Given the hypothetical concern that the construction of hundreds of new housing units in Parsippany will add to school enrollment, how can the district deal with increased enrollment? Do you anticipate the need for a multi-million-dollar referendum to pay for expansion, as some school districts in the Morris County have proposed?
Okay, good question. I kind of answered that already. With the construction, the Board of Ed is already being proactive to see what we can do to accommodate children that are going to be coming to the district. I would hope, and I can't say it won't happen, I would hope that a multi-million-dollar referendum would not happen. I truthfully, in my opinion, I don't see that happening. I think that the board is very responsible. I think that solutions can be found. We just have to keep pushing ahead. We've looked at properties, we looked at buildings. It's just a matter of finding the right place to kind of let the spillover of children who are coming to the district go. I don't think that there's any way that the public, as far as I would think, would have to pay for that. I think we're going to get hopefully some money from the town council and the mayor to help facilitate the expenses.
Thank you. Same question, Mrs. Golderer.
Can you repeat that question again? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can. Okay, given the hypothetical concern that the construction of hundreds of new housing units in Parsippany will add to school enrollment, how can the district deal with increased enrollment? Do you anticipate the need for a multi-million-dollar referendum to pay for expansion, as some school districts in Morris County have proposed?
Okay. I do unfortunately see the possibility of a referendum if we do not receive any proceeds from the pilots. I do, however, feel that, and I did say it at our last meeting, that if we could have a group of if we could have a group of the community together and be able to maybe, be able to discuss and plan for the future enrollment with respect to the different ideas that can be possible. Maybe bring in investors, bring in, there's many ideas, but that's all they are right now, is just ideas. But if no consensus or no proceeds from the pilots, we would have no alternative.
Thank you. Mr. DeVito, same question.
Thank you. So the idea of increased enrollment would be another way of saying about overcrowding. And, there's various ways that a district can do so. What board members' authority or be able to do is work with the administration. It's really kind of an administrative thing for the superintendent and his staff going down the line. So every year they go through a process of figuring out with the new enrollment of each school year how many students are going to be coming into each school and where to put them. So I think there's a lot of solutions where we rearrange some of the things and have put certain students here, certain students there, to those kind of solutions in the short term. But a referendum may be a need in the far future, but unfortunately, I think a lot of the things have to do with possibly doing a realignment of the district. That's one thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Abraham, same question.
In order to accommodate the number of children, I am very hopeful, and I know that our superintendent and the board, as well as the central office, are working very, very hard to make sure that we can accommodate all the children that may come into this district. But one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that, we want to make sure that our resources, our teachers, the space, the budget, the materials, they're all not going to be stretched too far. And we have said this before, our budget was approved this year 9-0 without any issues. And I think that needs to be brought up again, because we are building this Littleton expansion, and we are doing that without any other taxpayer money. We're not asking the public for anything. I think it is important to involve the community as much as we can, because as soon as you engage the community, they give us a lot of ideas. And a connection to the district, the more connection that they have, the more they're willing to participate and support the district programs and efforts. And I really think that communication is the key to be able to find a compromise or different ideas in order to be able to facilitate possible referendum or different ideas on how to resolve the issues that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, Ms. Stockdale.
I have presented the option to the mayor and to many lawmakers that they need to tear down some of the old buildings that are here in the area of Parsippany, Morris County. These buildings are just sitting here since the pandemic, and build homes, affordable homes. The option is to build homes that don't cost that much. There's digital housing. There's different types of constructions of homes so people can have a real home. Therefore, if they have a real home, they can pay taxes and provide for the school district to have a better school buildings.
Thank you. We're going to move on to a different topic. This one is about COVID funds. The deadline for school districts to spend state COVID funds was yesterday. Do you know the status of Parsippany School District's COVID funds? Are any of the funds unspent, and how will the district make up for the loss of COVID funds in the coming years? So the status of the district's COVID funds, any unspent, and how will the district make up for the loss of funds in the coming years? It's kind of a three-parter. And Mrs. Golder, I should have told you that before. I apologize, but you're first. You're first on this long three-part question.
Okay, well, we have an incredible, excellent business administrator in our district. She is one of the, she's top notch. And I can tell you that every penny that we have is used productively. And I'm sure that the status of the funds is that if we have any left, there's probably not much. How are we going to make up for it? I am sure that she has already planned for that with respect to offering classes, and that we're being paid with COVID funds, and making sure that we can continue to provide those by other grants, and trying to find money from other areas. But I have no reservation that she hasn't already done so. I'm pretty sure of that.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayer?
Thank you. As far as how the district's status is for our COVID funds, I would say that we have spent most of them. And the thing that's interesting is the money that we spend from COVID is for one-time only things, things that we use that we wouldn't necessarily use again. So these things have to be very carefully planned for. Again, when we create budgets, that takes over what we need. We plan for things like that. The COVID funds were great. They helped us recover a little bit. But now, after they're all spent, we have to kind of dig down into our budgets and make sure that we budget for the same things that we were using the COVID things for. We used it for programs. We used it for supplies. These things have to be maintained, and that's what our budget will cover.
Thank you. Ms. Stockton, same question.
I am not knowledgeable on the COVID funding. I'm out of healthcare. I work specifically within healthcare. I'm not knowledgeable. I have to pass on this question. I'm not knowledgeable.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Abraham.
Thank you. And not to say the same thing as Mrs. Golder, but it is worthwhile to mention that we do have a wonderful VA who has been extremely prudent in making sure that our budget is managed extremely well. And that credit goes to her and the superintendent and the central office. And so I do believe that, with those kind of people at the helm, we are able to focus on the programs for our students. I do want to mention that we do have a really amazing music program, and that's made possible by the proper handling of our budget as well. I do believe that our BA and our superintendent and the central office will continue to identify costs of programs and funding opportunities, and they will be extremely transparent to our taxpayers as to where this money is going. So with that in mind, I'm not worried at all about how we're going to manage that in the near and far future. I do have a lot of confidence in the staff that are employed to be able to handle this. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. DeVito.
Thank you. As Mrs. Mayer said, those COVID funds are one time, and they're pretty much done. I don't think we're going to be getting any more in the future. What is, as far as funding goes in that mindset, we did receive our state aid this year, an increase from our previous year of state aid. It was about, I want to believe it's around 1.6 million more than in state aid than we did last year. And that's a recurring thing. What makes that unusual is that there was a number of districts in New Jersey that got their state aid slashed significantly, and we didn't, thank goodness. So, I think there's a lot of this view of looking at it more from a state level of how do we make sure this state funding formula is more stable and less erratic, where we have all these numbers all over the place for each district. It's not seemed to be very equitable for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next question, we're going to start it with Mrs. Abraham. What steps would you recommend putting in place to ensure there is a safe and accepting learning environment for district students that is free from bullying, intimidation, harassment, and violence?
Would you mind repeating that?
Sure. What steps would you recommend putting in place to ensure there is a safe and accepting learning environment for district students that is free from bullying, intimidation, harassment, and violence?
I think that if we go back to our district goals, part of what our superintendent is, what he has presented, there was a goal in regards to that is it has to do with wellness. And that particular district goal of ours is to make sure that every single student has the learning environment that they deserve. They're able to go to school. They don't have to worry about bullying or violence, like you mentioned. The steps that we are making is we are continuing to expand on this goal, which, if I may, it's called wellness, and it's the members of our learning community will receive support for social emotional awareness and mental and physical health in order to flourish, demonstrate empathy, and celebrate the diversity of all. And I really believe when we look into those goals, you can see the different ways that our district community has been able to accommodate and tend to the students that need a little bit extra support. And I do believe that that goal is the way that we can go forward in making that environment as safe, accepting, and wonderful for our students as possible so they can learn, which is their primary purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeVito, same question.
So as a parent of two middle schoolers in the district, I hear about a lot of this stuff from them every day. They're in 8th grade now. And you hear a lot of these stories of what these kids are doing. And when enough of these kids are willing to speak up for their fellow students and be in that way where they can feel comfortable, letting the adults know in the school that, hey, this kid's being, messed around with. Let's make sure something happen to them. So it's that kind of thing where that between getting parents involved, where they are aware of what's going on in the school. And I think our schools do a pretty good job with that, where they let the parents know of things, even many of the teachers as well. So I think as long as we have a kind of an open dialogue between the teachers, the parents, and the students, they can feel comfortable speaking up and saying, hey, this is not right. You shouldn't be doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Golderer?
Okay, we have a very good program. We started many years ago. It was part of the Harmony program, and it's the social emotional learning. And the district has done a really good job of spreading all of the components that go with social emotional learning throughout the curriculum. And it offers the opportunity for kids to learn about respect, about kindness, and about how we should be treating each other. And something that everyone always says, treat people the way you want to be treated. So that the district has made a lot of strides in that direction, and we've done a pretty good job in making sure that our students have feel comfortable in their environment and are happy to come to school every day, to see their friends.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayer?
Thank you. Bullying, intimidation, and violence, those are things that unfortunately take place and not just happen in Parsippany. The key that I believe is to push for education, acceptance, and sensitivity. The Harmony program, I got to see it in an elementary school. I viewed a Harmony lesson, and it was wonderful. The children were given a situation that they might come up to anytime where they could solve it, with violence, or they could talk it out. So I really believe being sensitive to our students and kind of talking to them, what do you need? How would you feel? Get together and say, give me some things that you think would help in this situation. I think we really have to talk to our students because they are the ones that are out there. They see it happening. And I think it's important to get their view on how to help curb it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stockdale?
Well, I have a variety of answers to that question, because I think we need to keep it real. and be realistic and speak to the children. Sorry, I thought I turned it off. Speak to them directly and listen to them and listen to the parents. We need to educate them on different ways and perspectives of dealing with bullies, dealing with people, because it's not going to go away. It's something you're going to have to deal with your entire life. People on the job, people in your environment, community, you will always will have to deal with bullies and people who don't see things the way we see them.
Thank you. Actually, Ms. Doctor, you're going to start with the next question, which is, given the state and national push to encourage more girls to pursue STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math, do you think there is a need for the district to step up its efforts in this area? And if so, how do you recommend doing so?
I'm one of those people. One of the my past is growing up in Alabama, and the early 1980s, I was chosen through the National Science Foundation to go to a which is now called a pilot school, and that was Selma University. And during that year, or that summer, I was put into a program of recognizing students who excelled in math and science. I was encouraged by my instructor to excel. He saw something special in me. He knew I had a strength in math and science, and he encouraged me. And I think that's why I have been successful to today, is by encouraging young women that they can have a purpose in life and exceeding whatever they want to do.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayer, same question.
Thank you. I was in our middle school, and I know that we do have young ladies who are involved in the STEM program. There's nothing holding them back. I mean, if you sit and listen at the end of the year for graduation and the students say what they're going to be doing, a lot of these young ladies are following in that path. So I think it's something that they have to have an interest, they have to have a talent. There's nothing that says women can't participate in STEM activities. So I think we are pretty good in this district of making sure that it's open to everybody. It's not just for gentlemen, it's for ladies as well.
Thank you. Mrs. Golderer.
I believe that our district offers a vast array of classes to all the students at all levels, whether it's middle school, high school, but even in the elementaries, we have the GROW programs, and the GROW program offer the opportunity for kids who have certain interests to pursue them. I mean, I think that as a district, we let them know that that whatever it is that they're looking to do, whatever it is that they're willing to do, they can do it. We have the robotics group that at the high school level, and there's both males and females in that program. And we have the same thing. We offer networking classes. We offer a vast array of classes, and I think we do a pretty good job. I mean, my daughter graduated, as a biotechnology, a biotech, major. So went into science.
Thank you. Mr. DeVito.
Thank you. It's somewhat ironic this question came up tonight. So last night, as I said before, my private parent of two eighth graders, and the Brookline Middle School offered a parent seminar at the Hills for a pathways seminar, and it was the STEM pathways. There was one for visual performing arts and one for English language arts. And so they talked a lot about the STEM, and one of the stories they brought up was this young lady who graduated from Parsippany Hills, I believe, who created her own, it was a detector via computer, being able to detect pneumonia. which I thought was an amazing accomplishment for this young lady. So that definitely, I think the STEM. I think there's another STEM thing going on at Northvale in the next week or so. So they start at the elementary and they work it all the way through, all the way up to when they finish high school. So I think we're in a good position to let all the students, especially some of these girls that want to do it, succeed in that.
Thank you. Mrs. Abraham.
Thank you. Well, Mr. DeVito pretty much took my answer. But I was also going to mention that last night our assistant superintendent of curriculum and teaching was very helpful in hosting this this program yesterday for the parents to get more involved in science technology and really kind of step up and try to introduce to middle schoolers as early as possible if this is the direction that they want to take when they get to high school. So I think just to reiterate, what they have spoken about was not just the STEM Pathways program that's been in place for 4 years, but it's also expanding the pathway into humanities and visual and performing arts, including breakout sessions with academic supervisors. So there are absolutely great opportunities that are happening in Parsippany already. And I myself have family members that are female that are in STEM. So there's definitely plenty of people in our family, in our friends group, and in our community that are making sure that girls, boys, anybody that wants to participate in STEM have every opportunity available to them to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope we have time for 2 more questions. The first one will start with Mr. DeVito, and that is, what do you see as the most glaring need in the district? A little more open-ended.
Yeah, it's pretty open-ended. I think that the glaring need is for the students, student achievement, and I think there is some gaps in certain areas of some of our learning. I mean, our teachers do a great job of getting us up to that point, but since COVID, I think there's still this loss of learning that we have in a certain block of students that were like in kindergarten when COVID started. Now they're in like 4th grade, and you see that they're still trying to struggle and move ahead and then get up to speed with things like math and reading. So I think that's going to be I think it's a big challenge coming forward is recovering from that learning loss as we move forward.
Thank you. Mrs. Golderer.
Okay, I would say that the most blaring need in the district is build tools for the kids, technology, upgrade the technology. We at some point years ago we got a grant so that every classroom in the district had a whiteboard, but now those things have changed, and now there's so many other tools that 3Ds where you could actually play with the heart and things like that. I really would like to see more technology introduced in the district besides the we do have a like every one of our students has a Chromebook, some type of device, special needs. Some of them have iPads and such, but being able to provide more technology to them, and which is
Thank you.
Which is costly.
Mrs. Mayer.
Thank you. I think our district is well aware of how to deal with the learning loss that occurred because of COVID. We had interventions over the summer. We had summer programs for our children at the elementary, middle, and the high school level that the students could participate in. During the school year, we still have programs that are for interventions at all 3 levels. We've introduced a WIN period. It's called What I Need, where it's data-based instruction to work on children that might need support in math and in language and ESL. And just to toot a horn a little bit, Mount Tabor School was one of the schools that was recognized by the state as having promising practices because they outshined other states, and they identified the learning gaps, and they did extra to get it, to try to close it up. And so I'm really proud that one of our elementary schools is an example of how to deal with the gap that has occurred.
Thank you. Ms. Stockdale, what do you see as a glaring need for the district?
A glaring need for every school district here in America is to improve the social skills of the students. Instead of just texting each other to ask a question, I think they need to learn to relate and speak to each other and to listen to each other. That way they can have better relationships, lifelong relationships.
Thank you. Mrs. Abraham?
Thank you. I think one of the glaring needs is really to involve parents more in the as much as we can in maybe not the daily life of the students, but at least with the communication between the teachers, the students, and the parents. I know we mentioned COVID learning loss a couple of times, but it is something significant. I have two sons. My oldest one was at home trying to learn from a computer for a very long time. And he also happens to be a special education child with an IEP. So I witnessed the COVID regression that was right in front of me. And one of the things that really helped me was advocating very heavily for him and communicating with the teachers, with the staff, with the principals in the schools to find out what exactly he needs. And so I really encourage parents to come to our board meetings, participate in the district and volunteer in their schools and really try to find out what's going on in the schools. Not that there's anything bad, but I'm just saying be more involved, bring more the parents back into the fold as much as we can. I just wanted to mention that we did host a parent literacy night a couple of months ago.
I'm sorry, I need to ask you to stop. I apologize.
Okay.
But the next, you may be able to catch it in the next question because we're going to end with a positive note on a positive note here. And the question is, what should we be most proud of in the Parsippany School District? And we'll start with Mrs. Golder for that one.
Okay, what am I most proud of is that the teachers, the staff, they care. They care about the students. They make sure that they're safe, that if they need something, I could tell you that from the nurse to to the custodians, they donate, whether it's shoes, whether it's clothing, coats, hats, and every school makes sure that they take care of their own. And I always say Parsippany is very big, but yet we have the feel of a small town because we do care for each other. And it's so important to get involved. And just because you don't have children in the district anymore does not mean that this is not your district, and you should have a say, and you should want to have a say. So that's what I'm most proud of is how much everyone cares.
Thank you. Mr. DeVito, same question.
I think that what comes back to is some of the again, as Ms. Golder said about the teachers, and it's a benefit. It's to their testament that we have these kind of things happen. We started a strings program just before COVID started, and it kept expanding and growing, and now it's like enormous. I think there's probably like at least 4 grades worth of kids doing strings program now, and we've been honored with an award-winning music program for that during that time. So it's things like that. It's just one example of all the successful things that our teachers are doing to be able to give these kids not just the regular academics, well, those extracurriculars that these kids enjoy, which makes a more well-rounded student. And when it comes down to it, when they finally graduate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Abraham. You were nodding your head, and you're next. So.
Okay, thank you. And I was just mentioning earlier about the parent literacy night that was hosted back in March, I believe, at the 2 different high schools. And it was just one of those things where it was just very engaging. It was fun. It was informative. There were all kinds of different sessions that we could participate in. And it's those kind of programs that I think the school district really takes an effort, and the staff and the principals and the administration, they really do everything possible to make sure that there are so many opportunities for parents to be able to get involved in. And I'm just very, very proud to be here, raising my children here in this district, especially as a special education mom. We came from a very small district. And when we came here, we were looking for the type of support that we needed for our children. And that's exactly what we have gotten. So I have no doubt that they will continue to just service this town and the children of this town extremely well. And I'm just very, very proud to be sitting on a board for a district like this. I don't have any worries about my children because of the amount of support that I've gotten over the years. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stockton, same question.
Stockdale.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Parsippany has some of the best teachers. Although my son goes to an out-of-district school, he also participates in the swim team. When he swims on the swim team, he's encouraged just like any other student. He's treated as though he is just a swimmer. And that has been such a big boost to my son. That's all he thinks about. That's all he talks about, is that when he swims, he's going to be able to swim a district and he's going to be able to ride on the bus like the normal teenagers. And that has been such an important aspect of his development and his mental aspect of himself.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayor, finally.
Thank you. I'm very proud of our district, the diversity of our district. We have so many different groups of people living together. I'm also very, very proud of the quality of education we offer our students. My 3 children went through the whole K through 12, and they have become productive members of the society, and they have worked very hard. And that's not by accident. We have great, great staff. We have administrators, we have teachers that care about our children. They get involved with our kids. We try to keep parents involved. I know at the elementary school, they have math nights. They have reading literacy, where if they have parents that don't speak English, they have like codes on the book that is written in English that will allow the parent to hear it in Spanish. So we try very hard to really keep everybody involved. But I thank this district because they gave my kids an outstanding education.
Thank you.
Oh, can I include one other thing that's just very special?
You can put a closing statement.
Sure.
You can do it in your closing.
Last weekend.
I can't give you extra time.
I'm sorry.
But you can put your thought into your closing statement.
Okay.
Okay. Which is where we are right now. We've come to the end of the question and answer session. Thank you all for very great answers. And now we will do your 1.5-minute closing statements. And we start with Mrs. Mayor.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say currently I also serve as a substitute teacher in a neighboring district. This allows me firsthand access to work with students as an educator and research best practices in other learning communities. This ties directly to goal 1 of our strategic plan. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters, sponsors, our moderator, timekeeper, and the voters who took the time, I guess they didn't, to send in questions, unfortunately. I am proud of my service to the community, both as an educator and a BOE member. In both roles, I have kept the students' best interest as my top priority. It has been an honor to have the support and trust of the community for the past 10 years. I am the only candidate on the ballot who has 20 plus years as an educator in this district. I am also the only candidate on the ballot who is actively working in the schools. I would very much like to continue my service to the community as a board member. When you vote on November 5th, please go down the list of candidates, find my name, and cast your vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Abraham. You're on mute.
Thank you.
All this far.
I am proud to be a current board member, and I'm hopeful to continue this important work as long as possible. The work ensures that the students, teachers, and staff are getting the resources they need to succeed. I want to continue to improve communication with the district and the township, keep parents involved as major stakeholders, and maintain a safe and secure environment, bring forward successful policies while being as fiscally responsible as I can for all the taxpayers. The teachers, paras, counselors, child study teams, principals, and administrators are a big part of our children's lives. They deserve to continue feeling supported, and our children deserve the best educators and education they can get. I'm proud to be part of the communication committee that was successful in recording our board meetings since last October. I had read this and thought it was appropriate. Quote, school boards matter. They have the power to set local policies that affect how our children learn to think critically and become responsible adults. Serving on a school board is one of the most important ways to support your community. It is also a difficult elected position with very big demands and training. Matt, Susie, and I are running together as we believe our principles, perspectives, and experiences complement the work that is done by the board. We have the experience, the drive, and the focus to move this district forward. We believe in smart policies, secure schools, and being fiscally responsible. Please vote for Abraham, DeVito, and Golderer. If I may leave you with a reminder of a few things, my son is learning in kindergarten this year. Share everything, play fair, don't hit people, put things back where you found them, clean up your own mess, say you're sorry when you hurt somebody, and there is nothing a nap can't fix. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Golderer?
Okay. I would like to thank all the people who have worked to make this event possible and the people who may be watching online. I humbly ask for your support. My pledge to you has always been the same, to continue to work with the administrators, staff, and the community to always offer our children the best education possible. I will do whatever it takes to bring light to issues that are challenging but important to discuss, to work closely with administration and bring forth responsible budgets that help our children educationally but are not riddled with excess, to continue to give my most loyal and undistracted attention to our school district and community, to always be impartial and respectfully listen to all sides, regardless of my personal views. I am running with Sheethel Abraham and Matthew DeVito on the same ticket. We are like-minded and we do not think that we know it all. We want to hear from our community for a district that is representative of all. Change is the only constant in life, and we need to be ready with out-of-the-box ideas. We are in a challenging economic times. We need to go back to principles that made us such a great place to live. Please remember to vote Abraham, DeVito, Golderer, or just 123 on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeVito?
I would like to thank our moderators tonight, along with the League of Women Voters and all of our sponsors for hosting this event and allowing us to answer questions. I believe that Mrs. Abraham, Ms. Golderer, and myself have the experience that is needed on our Board of Education for the changes that have occurred and that will happen in the future to guide our district forward. We all have either children or grandchildren attending schools in the district. I myself have no desire to and will not seek any other elected office. My focus is on serving this community only as a member of the Board of Education. Thank you, and I hope you vote for myself, Mrs. Abraham, and Mrs. Golderer by November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Mrs. Stockdale.
Thank you. I didn't prepare a statement, but I will speak to you from my heart. I have a lot of life experiences. I speak exactly from my experience of life and what I've gone through with my son. I like to thank the moderators, the League of Women Voters, and many of you who are participating online via Zoom to listen to what I have to say or what the other candidates have to say. I wish I ask that you vote for me because I'm not going to represent one group. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to speak to you from my heart. I'm going to listen to people, and I'm going to act in what is in the best interest of the students of Parsippany. In closing, last weekend while working as a nurse on the floor, one of the patients that I had was a graduate of Parsippany High School, and he now is a Broadway star. We have stars that come from Parsippany. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of tonight's forum. I want to take the opportunity to thank you all for letting me be your moderator tonight. And I want to thank the candidates for their participation this evening to share their views on issues that are important to them and to the voters of Parsippany-Troy Hills. Thanks also to our co-sponsors, the Women's Club of Parsippany-Troy Hills and the Daily Record. And finally, I want to thank our audience, whether they're here tonight or in the future, for joining us And I want to remind you once again to vote. Remember, you make your vote count. There are 3 ways to vote. You can vote by mail. You can vote early in person from October 26th until November 3rd, or on Election Day, on Tuesday, November 5th. To learn more about early voting, vote by mail, polling locations, and other voting information, you can visit vote411.org. Again, I want to thank you all for a great evening and wish all the candidates lots of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.